Okay. Well, welcome. We might have a few more join us, but we'll let them in, but we'll get started. So I think everybody probably knows me. Um, let's see. I am Kara Rutter, so I'm president of Project Victory Gardens, and we focus on agrotherapy, animal therapy, and farm to table education for veterans and transitioning service members. And so this is kind of one of the newest of our initiatives, although we have we have another one coming soon to farms across the state called Coffee and Shores. So there's always a newest of our Project Victory Gardens initiatives. But Force Multipliers is really focused on kind of the midterm farmers. A lot of what we do focuses on those really new and beginning farmers. And what we've kind of realized is that as we've grown our program and done this for a few years, the people who've come along with us through from the very beginning have also been grown and they need something a little bit more in depth on some specific topics. And so today we are joined by one of our favorite farmers, Nathan Vanette from Growing Green Family Farms, and he is for those of you who've attended Farmer Boot Camp, he is always a stop on our Farmer Boot Camp circuit because he is the soil savant of the farming community in South Carolina for sure. And so today, when we talked about who is the best person to talk about direct to consumer marketing, there is no one who does it better in the state than Nathan does. And so I couldn't have think of anyone better than Nathan to join us for this first of our Force Multiplier session. And so we're so great that he is taking some time to chat with us today. So we're going to do this really informally. I have some questions I'm going to ask. We'll definitely save time for questions from the audience as well. And Nathan will just kind of talk through some of these topics around direct to consumer marketing. And so first, tell us about yourself, about Growing Green and how you got started and kind of what your direct to consumer program looks like right now.
Sure thing. Hello, everyone. My name is Nathan Vanette. I am co-owner and founder of Growing Green Family Farms. I started this farm up in West Michigan, where I grew up, to help fund my way through my college education. That was back in 2010. So I now have 15 years of experience as a small business owner. But prior to that, I also had an additional 5 years working as a farm manager for another farm. Fast forward to today, we have an established farm here in Anderson, South Carolina, and Townville, South Carolina, which is really neat to have two unique geographic locations in terms of targeting different markets. But in addition to that, we focus on growing fresh vegetables using sustainable agricultural techniques. So we don't use any pesticides or herbicides. And we are no-till. We don't own a tractor, so everything is done by hand. So each year we keep on looking at that, buying a tractor though, because moving 120 tons of compost by hand with a 5 gallon bucket, it gets burdensome by the end of the season. But we grow everything from your root crops to tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers, squash, leafy greens. Pretty well, if you can grow it and eat it, we try our best to do so. And a lot of that is to try to do the best we can at engaging with our customers, in particular the direct to consumer customers. We sell at the downtown Greenville Farmers Market, an online farmers market platform called the Clemson Area Food Exchange, 20 local restaurants, Swamp Rabbit Cafe and Grocery, and about 4 local farm stands as well. So we also have a CSA, which stands for Community Supported Agriculture, both one that we do completely in-house, but we've started to participate in a cooperative CSA as well, which has been a really neat model to continue to invest time and effort in expanding that to try to better serve our community.
There we go. That's awesome. So you have a lot of different customers. Obviously, you have your direct consumer clientele, you have your chefs and your restaurants and so a lot of different things that you're doing. If you had to kind of tell us who is the best customer out there, like if you had to define your best customer, not necessarily your biggest spender, but somebody that if you just cloned them, your business would be a success 365 days a year. Who is that for you and for Growing Green?
In a nutshell, it would be loyal advocates, people who are passionate about what we are doing, re-articulate our mission, our vision, and our values to other people, and almost are a miniature myself. Like they value who and what we do so much that they can't wait to share with their friends. Because ultimately, especially direct to consumer sales, the best marketing is your core customer base. And that's where those advocates are so pivotal in terms of being that key percentage that we continue to try to do the best we can at serving. So then they continue to do well what they want to do.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's awesome. And that's what, we've really found too on the Rudders Ranch side. For those of you who are not familiar, we have a farm as well as the nonprofit. And we on the farm, what we really focus on is the pigs, and we do, a heritage breed pig, very high end charcuterie, really high price point. But the people who buy our charcuterie and come back and buy again and again, and we have a cult following surrounding our liverwurst. But they're the people who understand that we raised that pig outside in the forest for 18 months. We're really focused on kind of nitrate free production in old world European style methods. We take the pigs all the way up to Pennsylvania. Luckily, Nathan has a refrigerated truck that we get to rent to take, meat back and forth. But really, it's about the vision, and it's about kind of understanding that and coming along for the ride, and that's your sweet spot for a direct to consumer customer, no matter what business you're in. And so let's talk about farmers markets for a bit, because you've been doing farmers markets for a long time and done several different ones. Most farmers market vendors leave money on the table. What's the single biggest booth or sales process change you've made to kind of move the needle on that average transaction value?
An element of that is growing particular crops that I guess we would classify as a loss leader. They're particular crops that don't necessarily make us the ideal profit margin that we want, but it captures the eye of the customer. It brings more consumers next to our table. So that might be, and it depends on the season. So that could be the carrots on the table or the beefsteak tomatoes, of which are painstakingly hard to grow here in the Southeast. But everyone wants it. And then the idea with a loss leader is because it captures the eye of the consumer, it brings them into your table. And then all of a sudden they can be like, oh, if I get your tomato or your carrots, I'll also get your lettuce, arugula, microgreens, anything else you might have, edible flowers. Oh, you have bouquets. And the concept of that is the more money you can have each individual who is stopping at your booth spend, the higher value that customer has. The fewer transactions, especially with so many people transitioning to paying with a credit card. There is a per credit card transaction fee. And so the larger the amount, the smaller that over fee. So there's multiple things that contribute to it. But just having diversity, which is where I also started with the presentation, it can be challenging because it's easy to have the mentality, I want to grow everything. To a certain point, you need to specialize. But understanding what those loss leaders are definitely has helped at the farmers market to enhance our average per customer sale. It's boosted as much as 50 to 65% year over year as we continue to hone that in. And those are hard numbers that just continue to hit our bottom line, which is how profitable can we make that our farmers market is 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. And so the higher the traffic volume, the more you can have a line that is continuing to build, then people are like, ooh, they have something good. And that's what we're going for.
Yeah, and we saw that exact same thing recently. We set up in the Southeastern Wildlife Expo tent, the certified South Carolina tent down in Marion Square during Sea Week. And we were the first time really that anyone has kind of done meat within the tent, and it was really interesting to see. I mean, we were the point of all the traffic through that tent because it was something really different and really unique and boosting, boosting those sales. So whether that was, kind of offering package deals, where you can kind of reach those higher price points, that worked really well for us. And I mean, we were able to sell $11,000 worth of product in 3 days. So I mean, it was phenomenal for us. Um, so, kind of in that same vein, though, how do you think about farmers markets kind of as a customer acquisition tool rather than necessarily just a sales tool? How are you getting, and then are those customers coming to your CSAs? Are they then reaching out to you on cafe or another one of your sales channels? How do you see that customer acquisition piece of the farmers market?
That has definitely been extremely pivotal for our farm, especially since the farmers market that we attend to is the downtown Greenville Farmers Market. It only operates May through October, and it's challenging to invest all that time into a consumer base that is only for 8 months out of the year, and then the rest of, sorry, that's only 6 months, and then the rest of the year you don't have access to it. So we try to have as many call to actions as possible, just in terms of getting them to either sign up for our newsletter to find out where they can get our produce, whether it's through the CSA or different online or different delivery options we have around the upstate, especially Clemson Area Food Exchange. That's been great for those further west in Greenville in particular. But the call to action, whether that's a flyer, we've done recipe cards, anything that has our name, and then also our website information. That's where QR codes and continuing to try to integrate technology into this has been quite fascinating. And just to see the response rates with that. The more engagement you can get, and then also it correlates to the more engagement on your platforms, the potential of possibly monetizing that side as well. Not that that's our end goal, but as a farmer, the more revenues,
Smart.
exactly, the more streams of revenue you can get, the better it will help you to just become more profitable and sustainable. But it's been really encouraging, especially since we do the best we can with articulating at every point, whether it's a farmer's market, our online platform, or any place our product is located, our mission, our vision, our values. And then they can really come alongside that and they hunt us down. This year, we actually invested a little bit more into advertising for our Greenville customers that, hey, that cooperative CSA, yes, we don't get 100% of that pie, but we've been able to boost that from 35 members to 70 members just through a little bit more effort. So it correlated to after the farmers market ended, still being able to access and to distribute to those direct to consumer relationships very effectively.
Yeah, I think those are all really great points. I mean, you want everything to be a little stickier, right? You want people to see your sign and then connect that to the emails, to the newsletters, to your socials, so that sticks. And when it is embedded in your mission, vision, and values, that's what helps it stick, right? That's what gets that whole thing across, so that you can, take customers from one sales channel and also integrate them into some of your other sales channels. So CSAs can be great. CSAs can be really hard. Pricing and structure is kind of where a lot of farmers kind of have that problem, whether it's with, a produce CSA or a meat CSA or a mixed CSA. Walk us through how you think like designing that share works financially for the farm and how it feels like it's a good deal for the customer.
When we first started, we did not know what we were doing, and it was very challenging to figure out that pricing structure. We actually offered too much of a discount, weren't hitting the margins we needed to be profitable. Plus, with the added packaging time, it was very much a loss leader for that season. But since then, we've been able to hone that in, and part of that is understanding the true value of portion sizes. And so that's the model we have tended to go towards is we'll have a certain number of items within the bag and then have that at a particular preset standard in terms of the value of that product. For example, this season we're doing 10 items per bag, and each item is valued at $4 if you go to the farmer's market, but we can mark it down to $3 if they buy at the CSA. We know that our cost of goods sold for each item averages $2.25. So we're getting the margin we need for the added time and effort in terms of packaging that. Those numbers are going to look different for each farm, but that's definitely been something that's been helpful for us. Plus, what's nice pertaining to marketing, if they buy the whole season up front, we can offer the discount, which is at that lower pricing point, and then have it tiered, whether it's half season or by week. If they're purchasing it by the week, then it's a much lesser one because the heart of a CSA is giving us funding up front to be able to afford the labor, the seeds, and really getting your farm started for the season ahead. And so we try to stick with that. But at the same time, having the per week has been actually helpful for people who are coming on later in the season.
Yeah.
It is challenging because it's really helpful to hone in your marketing to be like, hey, this is the last week to sign up. But we could still achieve that by being like the last week to get the full share discount. But because we also do a half season as well, when that half season arrives, we can be like, it's the last week to sign up. And it's amazing to see they are suckers for deals. And so the more we can highlight that and actually get it twice per CSA season has really helped that model continue to grow. Part of it, though, is it's been interesting trying to develop our own CSA while also starting a cooperative CSA. That has been really a neat model because one of the challenging things is having enough diversity on your farm. Because at the end of the summer season, people are sick of eggplants. During the spring, they don't want any more kale. So, how to keep that diversity alive? And so, being able to partner with other farms, whether it's a mushroom farmer or this time of year, someone who grows tomatoes and peppers in a greenhouse, has been a really powerful marketing tool and also a great way because they're advertising for the CSA while you're doing it as well. So you can actually increase the number of CSAs you can offer while reducing the actual amount of time and effort you are putting into it yourself, increasing value for the customer. And as a result, we think that we should be able to achieve around 100 CSAs for this coming up season.
That's awesome. One of the challenges with CSAs is that often people end up with stuff that they don't know what to do with. And so how much education kind of has to go into your customer base so that when they get a CSA box with a bunch of kale in it, and they're like, what am I going to do with this kale? Or, we've found we had some friends who were growing lion's mane mushrooms and trying to sell them at a farmer's market. Everybody thought they were cool, but nobody was buying them because no one knew what to do with them. And so I developed some recipe cards so they could have those there, so they could say, hey, you can make this great crab cake with lion's mane and oyster mushrooms. Tastes just like crab, but it doesn't have any crab in it. And so what do you do as far as that education piece?
Recipes have definitely been pivotal. And something we try to do is create a unique community engagement opportunity, whether it's contacting a celebrity chef who might be willing to write that part of your newsletter, or even local chefs, just really trying to get someone who is perceived as an expert to be able to have a potential point of influence. And that's definitely been helpful. But something we've also done to help counteract that as well, because is offering customization to a certain extent. We have a platform of which similar like for likes, they can sub, oh, I don't want kale this week, let's do Swiss chard. And that's really helped to reduce that type of resistance and the consumer mentality and has definitely led to having a higher customer turnover or like return rate, which we're very thankful for. But in addition to that, it's been great to integrate with technology as well. Whether it's a product that's hard to or not as well known, there's so many videos on YouTube. We don't necessarily have to do the time and effort to show people how do you peel and cook a kohlrabi because we can link a video right on whether it's the email format or just have it on the recipe card and they can engage directly with that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Um, so loyalty programs, kind of mean something for every different farm. Some farms use like punch cards, some have a full VIP experience. Do you have any type of loyalty programs? Is that something that you're looking at? How do you reward, we'll say, your loyal customers?
In particular, we try to center it around some sort of call to action. So for some of our customers, it's, hey, if you return the containers that we can reuse, then we'll actually give you a discount on your next package. It does a couple of things. It increases the green initiative. People are like, oh, good, can be repurposed. And it's been really encouraging to see actually people will buy more items because they know, hey, I can bring it back and it can be repurposed. So that's definitely been a unique one just to try to tie two concepts together. We tried punch card per se using Square, but it was really challenging, especially at the farmers market when you have 6 or 7 thousand people coming through on a single day,
Yeah.
and you have to scroll through your contact list to try to find the individual, and it just didn't make sense from a time perspective. So instead, we try to really build a relationship with the individual. And that's definitely been powerful to be able, they can talk to us. We share our life stories, they share their life stories. And then as a result, we can be like, hey, I know you really like such and such product. I set it aside for you today. And that's something that has definitely enhanced their desire to come to the market, to engage with us. And has been really neat to, and is in a different informal way, increase loyalty.
So, what about lapsed customers? I know when we were selling kind of regularly on cafe, the way Clemson Area Food Exchange works is it's open all weekend for ordering. On Thursday, Friday, the farmers all put up what they want to sell. It's open over the weekend for ordering. The farmers drop everything off Tuesday afternoon at one location, and then it's split up and taken out a dozen different spots. And so when we would get our order forms, it says Nathan ordered liverwurst. And so we would see, okay, this person orders liverwurst every week, or this person loves our, bratwurst or spinach feta sausage or something like that. And then when they wouldn't order for a couple weeks, you're like, I wonder if they didn't like the last batch, or how do you sort of engage with some of those lapsed customers?
Definitely depends on the type of customer. If it is something that we have traceability in terms of like cafe, which has been great, where you have the customer's name, you can reach
Yeah.
out, creating a personalized experience, asking questions has definitely been helpful, but then also not necessarily pushing sales overly too much. I think the general rule in terms of especially social media is you don't want to have your post be any more than 20 or 25% of actually sales materials. So when reaching out to these lapsed customers, especially if they're part of our email list, we try to approach it similarly. And so just trying to engage, a good question that we ask is, hey, how has the product been? Or did he have an issue with the last order? And just having or creating a gateway for them to communicate to us has been very helpful in terms of, yeah, I had that lettuce and it was a little soggy, so I didn't feel like ordering it the last 2 weeks. And then what's helpful for us is we can understand, okay, we didn't do well with drying the lettuce. We can improve our standard operating procedure to prevent this from happening. And so it creates a learning experience. And I think that's an important thing as a small business owner is at the end of the day, the customer knows, or what's the phrase? The customer is always right.
Always right. Well,
Exactly. And so approaching it with that mentality has definitely been helpful in terms of just bringing them back in and trying to re-engage with them again. And sometimes that is taken at our loss. We'll be like, we're so sorry for that experience, showing empathy. You understand where they're coming from, and then offering a free replacement. And sometimes we'll go up and beyond and be like, hey, here's a free CSA back just to share. We value you. We're so sorry this happened. And it's a non-verbal way of saying, will you give us a second try?
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That's so important. So if you kind of looked across all your direct to consumer revenue streams right now and you had to cut one, that's either costing you more time and energy than it returns, or it's just not super profitable, and for the rest of you, there is no one who knows his input costs like Nathan does, and kind of manages those and knows where his income streams are. So if you had to cut one, what would it be and why? Or if you had to add one, what's next for the farm?
That is a really challenging question because we've done well at trying to get all of our different channels to integrate as tight-knitly as possible, in particular with the CSA. Uh, so, like, our website is somewhat of a central location, but at the same time, in terms of the sales platform, it's definitely the one that is underperforming the most. But at the
Yeah.
same time, that's where people come in and through to purchase the CSA. We don't need that particular host page to do that sales. That we could do that through Square. So that's just in terms of how hard it is on the backside to maintain that. That's probably what we would discontinue. And we would actually probably take that time and an effort to continue to go either towards that cooperative program or boost our efforts and endeavor at the market downtown Greenville, just because there's so many people. I think there's a lot more we can do to continue to try to captivate that customer flow to maximize our time, 8 to 12, because if we could get another 20, 30, 40 customers, that would be a direct correlation to not only sales there, but also during the off season.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, we've talked obviously about direct to consumer, but you also sell through Swamp Rabbit and, sell a lot to chefs. And how do you kind of see the relationship between your no kidding direct to consumer side and your more wholesale or commercial side of the operation?
Sure. It's been really interesting to see actually the integration of both. It's amazing. That's one thing I love about the greater Greenville area because like the chefs that we're working with, our name is on the menu. And so our customers are seeing it. So it's another way of them just to see our name. I forget how many times someone has to see your name before they like, oh yes, I'm going to purchase from you. And so the more you can do that, the better. And that's where even like the Swamp Rabbit Cafe and Grocery, they have an awesome wholesale distribution side, but also a retail side. It's a challenging location to sell because for produce, which is highly perishable, they have to mark it up 100%. So if we sell something at the market for $5, we have to sell it to them for $2.50. And that doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense because we're not getting hardly any margin. But what it does, especially during the off season, our customers can continue to interact with our product, see it on their shelf. So it's in essence, it's building brand recognition before the market starts. On the flip side, though, it also is helpful, in particular, when we have surplus because they can take large quantities. Same thing with working with the chefs. So it's been fascinating to see the having both models, the wholesale and the retail. An important aspect is the resilience it brings. This couldn't be more true for when COVID hit back in 2020. We were probably 80% restaurants, 20% retail. And because we had a good basis and different revenue streams for retail, retail was actually able to absorb 80% that we lost because all restaurants shut down. And so that was incredible just to have the ability to pivot. Today, we're closer to actually 60-40, so it's more balanced mix. And it's been really neat to see what that's done, in particular during the off season, because we know that our restaurant customers, if you do well, they're extremely loyal. And so, since the farmers market is only 6 months out of the year, yes, it's good to do the best you can to try to be as profitable there. But that restaurant customer is going to carry you through the winter. And so that's our mentality with that. And it's actually been really helpful to see that. Knowing your margins is essential with this, in particular, balancing retail versus wholesale, because there's different dynamics you have to keep in mind. More packaging expense and time for retail, but higher value versus wholesale. So it's a fascinating blend, but we're very happy with how it's continued to build, in particular with trying to build resilience, not only for ourselves, but also partnering farms that we can start to distribute to those restaurants.
Yeah, no, that is awesome. And that is the one thing that both of us say all the time is that a rising tide lifts all ships, right? Within this space, within specialty crops or, specialty meat production, small meat production, everybody eats. Everybody eats 3 times a day. There's no reason why we all can't be really successful within those markets. So you track everything. So talk to us about like what that looks like. How do you track everything, your input costs, your sales costs, and is there a metric that you wish you had started looking at earlier? Um,
That's a good question. Yeah. A lot of it starts with your cost of goods sold. So understanding what that is, because based off of that, you can understand what is the ideal margin you're looking for. I wish we had spent more time and research in terms of figuring out what is a good margin, because unfortunately, a lot of farmers don't like to talk or share their finances. And it's been slightly aggravating because if you go to your extension service, they're geared to large ag and not necessarily to small specialty crop farmers. Thankfully, there's a shift in the wind, so hopefully that'll continue to change. But it's been challenging to navigate when you don't understand, okay, is a 25% margin good? Or what do you need to continue to propel yourself to additional growth? Because optimally, you're not only covering your cost of goods sold, but you're actually having enough to continue to help your business grow and increase your pay rate for all of your employees. So that's definitely the parameter that we wish we knew more of. Today, since we can understand that well, we understand on our farm, we grow on a very standardized format. So 30-inch wide beds, most of the beds are 100 feet long. And so, based on that, we know how much we need to make per bed in terms of understanding, are we making the right margin for the bed space? So it's a different way of looking at it. It's not just the end product because we understand all the inputs that go into that individual bed. This could be the same for meat, understanding your unit, like for your egg layers. Let's say you have your chicken feed costs, it's a fixed cost. But your eggs, what you need to sell, as that fluctuates and you start to see it decline, there's a certain time where you need to terminate. That's the same thing with farms. And so it's actually been helpful for us to understand, okay, this bed is underperforming. We need to flip it and get another crop going as fast as possible. And that's really enabled us to hone in and understand what that margin is. And it's going to be a different number for retail versus wholesale. But you also have to keep in mind the different time elements. Retail takes more, wholesale. For instance, if we had 100 heads of lettuce and it was going to wholesale, we pack it all into a bulk box. It's a fraction of the time, so we can take a smaller profit margin. Retail, it's individual bags, individual labels, a lot more time and more expense for that. But you're getting a higher profit amount. So it's an interesting and delicate balance. But that's definitely been helpful for us. For tracking it, we use primarily just Google spreadsheets. They're super easy to try to get different sheets to integrate, easy to get pie graphs to understand, okay, what is your cost of good and how much is your margins. But AI has actually been a helpful tool. You can actually just type in, and then it'll give you a formula that you just put in, copy and paste. And it's been a very powerful tool for us to continue to hone in on those numbers and understand what data is the important data to start to collect and focus on, because you can get data paralysis or data analysis. And that's something as a farm that can be an easy tendency, but we understand that our most valuable time is actually in the field. So honing in on where those data points are that we do need to have as anchors and having a good, concise spreadsheet that can talk with other sheets has definitely been pivotal.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned AI, and that will be a recurring theme, I guarantee, if you hang in with us over the next few months for the rest of these, because Matt and I are definitely AI evangelists, and we use it in kind of all aspects of our business, whether it's drafting emails, whether it's on the nonprofit side or the farm side, in business planning, taking those inputs, dropping them into AI is hugely effective when you're putting together a business plan, when you're putting together financials for something, when you're trying to figure out, is this really working for us financially? Sometimes it's great just to ask the AI, hey, is this working for us? What do you see? Poke some holes in this. Or, I mean, marketing, I have my Claude AI integrated with my Canva. So I tell Claude what I want and it comes up with it and it opens right in Canva. I can tweak it and drop it into Metricool and set it to post whenever I want to post. So figuring out some of those tools are really effective. So if someone in this room implements just one thing from our conversation today, what do you hope it is?
Oh, it'd probably be a combination of understanding your margin, but then also there's something about storytelling that's powerful. So earlier I said your mission, your vision, and value. If you could really hone in on that, your ability to articulate that in terms of whether you're at the beginning or in the middle of developing your direct consumer sales outlet, it is a powerful tool. And then try just experimenting with maybe a short 30-second elevator pitch. Hone it in where you can like articulate who and what you are and where you are going. And if you do well with that and have a true like passion and people can see your heart in it, it's been amazing to see how many people have come along and right from day one are that key market that there are loyal advocates instantly. And so I wish I knew that early on to be able to focus on. So if that's probably the top takeaway if there was one thing from today.
Yeah, and that's such a good point. And for this group especially, um, you have a lot of things you can lean into with your storytelling. I know we do have one guy from Georgia on the call today, but the rest of you are in South Carolina. We've got the certified South Carolina. That label has great brand awareness. And so you can lean into that. But then we also have a blended homegrown by Heroes certified South Carolina label. So not only can you kind of use the trust of the certified South Carolina label, but you can also use the trust of the homegrown by Heroes and tie that to your service and lean into that with your storytelling. Storytelling, yes, Phil, you have Georgia grown, but you don't have a blended label yet. So you need to start working on that. But leaning into that storytelling is really, really important. And then, making it consistent across your channels so that when somebody thinks of Growing Green or they think of Rutter's Ranch, all the time they're thinking, oh, I trust them, I trust their product, I trust their mission and vision, and it aligns with what I believe as well. And if they don't know that about you, if your relationship is, just purely transactional, um, they're you're no different than a grocery store. You're no different than running errands. I'm going to run errands and go out and buy carrots. Well, they don't care if they're Nathan's carrots or, the guy down the road who is bringing in his carrots from somewhere else. Um, if they understand your story, they can come along with that. And typically, if they're coming along because of your story, they're also willing to be with you during the tougher times, during the times when we have droughts or hurricanes or pandemics and things like that. And that's what's really been clear with Nathan's business model is that his customers, whether they are on the wholesale side or the retail side, believe in his mission and are coming along because of that mission and a great product too, obviously, but because of the mission and the vision, and that's really been important. So we have saved 20 minutes for questions. So please either it's a small group, so feel free to come up on the net and unmute and ask questions or put them in the chat. We're very excited for Farmer Veteran Coalition Georgia getting their official board approval. So no questions? Covered everything?
Hey, I'll jump in. This is
Yeah,
Alex. Just
do
had
it,
a
Alex.
hey guys. Hey, just starting out. In we're just in Ravenel, Adams Run, but we are a farm that we have kind of sold friends and neighbors and kind of pay as you pick program. But Nathan, stepping off, like where was that teetering point as far as quantifiable like acreage? Um, so we've got like a 5 acre that we've just been growing for personal use, and then again, it's expanded into friends and family, and I can kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel. Hey, we start building more, building more. Where was it for you, or what was that quantifiable acreage that was like, okay, hey, we're pushing through the clouds and going 5, 10, 15 acres? What did you
Oh,
guys
I
see?
can't wait till you answer this one, Nathan.
So it's 1 acre. We've yet to achieve, well, I guess it'd be 3/4 of an acre. That's how much we're growing on right now. So it may not seem much, but because we've honed in our growing techniques and have a very tight turnaround in terms of when one crop is done and the other crop is coming in. And we do a lot of intercropping. So we don't just have a row of peppers. Next to the peppers, we'll have lettuce on the shady side, your scallions on the other side, which increases the biological activity of the soil and it enhances the yield of all the crops. Uh, we've been told that we grow about 7 acres worth of produce on 1 acre of land. And so we have found that by managing less with better efficiency, you can actually grow more with less effort.
That's awesome. And I know, we were talking earlier, you were kind of the soil master. That is one thing on my property. I am taking specifically pine trees that, we had a pH level in the fives, which is great for blueberries. So kind of that acidic side, but we're stepping it up. And I mean, we've thrown compost kind of on half an acre there and growing that. How did you build that base level, or where's that sweet spot pH that you like to hang out at?
Sure. We are very heavily compost focused as well in terms of our growing operations. So, for example, when we're starting a new farm plot, which we'll actually be doing two more this coming up spring, we put cardboard right on the native turf after silage tarping it. And so we're not even tilling it with a rototiller.
Yeah.
And then we just put 6 inches of compost. That's enough depth to do a quick turnaround annual, such as radishes, lettuces, or even like your kale, Swiss chard, etc. And then by time those crops are done, this cardboard is gone. It has incorporated and brought up a lot of your earthworms and different invertebrates, which feed on that. And then they start to pull that compost down into the soil for us. So in terms of building up the health, compost has definitely been our backbone, and it actually equates for about 95% of the fertility management and pH management. In particular, with the more acidic soils, it's brought it up to 6.5, 6.8. But we have also learned that by observing the plants, especially since we have so much going on, and each bed is growing a different crop, rather than taking a soil test analysis from each one, we can tell just whether observation of the leaf or what type of weeds are growing, what the pH, the NPK, and micronutrients balance are of that particular bed. And it's been fascinating just to develop that. But compost has definitely been really helpful to create that baseline. If we need more, we'll usually go to a composted chicken litter. Seven Spring Farms has a great website. One is called Crescendo. It's an 822. They have Harmony, which is a 434 with added calcium. So both, whether you're doing a fruiting veg or a veg, they have great products if you just need a little bit more boost. But compost, that's been our story from day one.
Awesome. Yeah, we just implemented the cardboard this year, and yeah, I've been working on it. So excited to see how they'll do for the following years.
Yeah, Alex, we need to get you up to Farmer Boot Camp so you can go by Nathan's farm and check it
Yeah,
out.
yeah. Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. The next one is the last week of April.
Awesome.
So, all right. What other questions? Phil, you always have questions.
Um, can you hear me, Karen?
I gotcha.
I'm out in the field working, so I didn't know if I had my mute on or not. No, you know what? I just went to the ASAP conference, so I got to hear Nathan's pitch up there. So, and I did get an opportunity to go to Nathan's farm and work for a little bit and see how much he does on how little acreage. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely phenomenal.
I have the opposite problem going on, but
Most of us do.
yeah, but we're trying. We're getting there.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So I've got a question.
Go for it, Emily.
I I am looking at labor force, and I'm having such a hard time hiring and keeping them at a price point they're willing to stay so that I can turn around my product at a price point people are willing to buy. What are your recommendations?
That's one of the number one issues of farmers is good employee retention. Something that we've definitely had to do is continue to build them up and give them a vision. So we try to, with our mission, vision, and value, like give them a little bit of that. Is really scary to hand the baton in certain areas, but by doing so, they feel more vested, and that's been really neat to see them really take ownership. But at the same time, it liberates and frees up my time to continue to be able to focus on other things. But the bottom line is the living wage here in South Carolina, I think it's up to around $21 per hour. And that can be a steep number to reach and achieve as a farm. So what we have done is finding a balance of what I would call like either part-time workers or internships. We've actually really enjoyed working with her. It's interns through Project Victory Garden, through the Skill Bridge program, or Clemson University. So if you're nearby a local ag university, talk to their horticultural department. You can frequently get people who understand horticulture well at a much lower pricing point because it's part of an internship need or requirement they have for their school. And then you do tend to have just grunt tasks, and that's where having a couple of higher paid positions to or to be able to manage some of the employees who might be at a lower point. For us, it's high schoolers, or we also have found actually starting to create a program where kids from 12 to 14 can come on farm. It's scary. There's some liability, but as long as the parents sign a waiver, it's perfectly fine. And they've actually been able to really help us in particular with those peak harvest months, help a lot. It gives them value, understands like the value of money is payday for those kids is probably one of the happiest days of my life. And so it's been really neat to see that, but you still need those higher consistent employees. So it's a combination of both that we have found, but having that balance is really enriching the experience as a whole for me as an individual and enabled me to delegate different tasks while having a workforce that's large enough to tackle the projects around the farm.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the other great thing about that 14-year-old segment is they're really good at social media. So, you know, give them a little piece of your social media. Like that's how GoDaddy's has blown up like crazy in Colombia. I think Jonas started there when he was 12, 13, 14 years old. He took over their social media. And he did a TikTok post that Lauren Elena shared and it went viral and they had like 3 million hits or something on their TikTok post. And I mean one of our best farm sitters, farm chores doers is a 14-year-old girl around the corner. And she just loves it. And so yeah, that's a great point, John. With the local FFA or the local 4-H kids. And so talking to your extension folks and getting involved in FFA and 4-H. Um, and then I think I got another intern coming for you, Emily. All right.
Yes, it sounds like we'll have him in the.
Yep. Yep. All right. Any other questions? We have a couple more minutes. No. All right. Well, Nathan, any final words of advice, encouragement?
Let's see. Try to not view your farm as a one-man ship. Build community. That's definitely been pivotal for us. Like Kira shared, if you view it as a rising tide, don't necessarily, especially like other farmers, don't view them as competitors. View them as collaborators. It's amazing what that can do for yourself. It enhances what you're able to do in terms of impacting your community, and through the journey will help you hone in who and what you are. That's definitely been the story of our farm, and I hope that's just a nugget of wisdom to help you along as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that that's hugely important. It's been really important for what Matt and I do, both on the nonprofit side and the for-profit side, is building that community. You know, the reefer truck that I talked about, you know, Nathan got a grant for that. And when he was applying for the grant, we wrote, you know, a letter of support, saying that we need this as a community. We need this reefer truck up here in the upstate. We will rent it on a regular basis. And so when we rent it, you know, we pay him a fair market value to rent the reefer truck. That money he can use to kind of maintain and keep the reefer truck going, and it serves the whole community. He delivers cheese for Split Creek, and you know, works with other farms to ensure that it is not just a resource for him, but it's value added for the whole community. And that's really important, and that's where we really see success in, you know, in the small farm community, is when you collaborate. If you're not collaborating, you were one disaster away from, you know, total mayhem. And so, uh, building those relationships is super important. And so that's a great point. So a few announcements. This is the first of a series of 8 of these force multiplier webinars. So they're taking place every other month, for the foreseeable future, to include when we're in Scotland this summer. So please come along on the journey, and you can register for all of them at the palmettovetsandag.org website. We do have Farmer Boot Camp 2.0 coming up the last week of April. So if you want to go out and see Nathan's farm for yourself, we will be out there on the 29th of April. So you can mark your calendar, Nathan. Um, and let's see, we have the Farms of the Brave Ag and Art Tour coming up Memorial Day weekend. So I know a few of you on here are registered South Carolina registered farms and Farms of the Brave. If you are interested in participating in the Memorial Day weekend Ag and Art Tour, please join us on Monday evening for the Zoom call. If you haven't gotten that link, just let me know, shoot me an email or drop a message in the chat, and I will get you that link. That's going to be amazing. If you're familiar with the South Carolina Ag and Art Tour, this is part of that. It falls under that umbrella. But instead of just doing a county-based operation, we are doing it statewide. So we're going to open up veteran farms statewide for Memorial Day weekend from Friday through Monday. Probably Friday, Saturday in 2 of the regions, and Sunday, Monday in the other 2 regions. Although farms are more than welcome to be open all 4 days. And it's going to be awesome. We're still definitely looking for veteran artists around the state. So if you know any veteran artists, artisan, craftsmen, um, bakers, kind of any, I take a pretty wide view of what is art. But we can get them to set up on other farms. And for those of you who are in our neighboring states, if you want to come and set up on a South Carolina farm, we can definitely find a place for you to do that as well. So please join us on Monday night. If you have a veteran-led farm that does agritourism and you've not yet registered for Farms of the Brave, including our Georgia friends, please do so. We have a brand new super spiffy website. And so we are registering farms in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia right now. And we plan to add a few more states as the year progresses, and eventually take over the whole nation. So please come along on that journey with us. It's been super fun so far, and we're really excited about it. And that is all I have. Thank you so much for joining us.
Kara,
Yes.
I have a Farm of the Brave question, I guess, since you brought it up.
Yeah.
So
Shoot.
how, I mean, what's the definition of agritourism on the low side? I mean, I'm looking to open an on-farm stand, like a self-serve kind of farm stand to
Done.
start with.
That's agritourism.
So, I mean, would that fit in the Farm of the Brave or?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yep. If you have people, if you get people to your farm, for sales, recreation, entertainment, education, that is agritourism.
Okay.
So
Well, as
sign
soon as I
up.
get it built, I'll let you know. I,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
do direct sales now. I mean, people come here to buy eggs and honey pretty regularly, but I
yeah.
don't have a stand or anything set up, you know?
That's fine. Yeah. I mean, a number of the farms that are listed on Farms of the Brave are in varying stages of setup and operations. A lot of them don't have set hours, and that's fine. I mean, Rutter's Ranch doesn't have set hours. But if you get people to the farm, whether it's for buying eggs or if you do any other events and education programs and things like that, that's all part of it. It all counts.
Well, that muscadine vineyard that I got my little microgrant on, it's up and going good already.
Awesome.
This should be
Awesome.
a first year with a crop anyway.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool.
Well,
Yeah, absolutely.
thanks.
Please register and you will be farm number one in Georgia.
All right, I better do that. This way I have at least something I could brag about.
There you go. There you go.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Any other questions, concerns, thoughts?